Tonight we are launching a new series on The Beat, Backstory. Our goal is to provide deep reporting and more backstory about one of the people running for president in each installment. It's a focus on who these people are individually, and by looking at each candidate, the series aims to put some substance and context above other features that we all know from election coverage and that we all do from time to time, horse race comparisons or unreliable early polling. So in the coming weeks, we're going to zero in on a range of candidates like Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren. Tonight, we begin with a look at a contender with an unusual profile, the 37-year-old leader of a town of just over 100,000 people, who only recently became well-known enough that people are starting to get his name right.
This guy named Pete, whose last name nobody can pronounce, who is the mayor of South Bend, Indiana.
I'm going to try to pronounce this mayor's name, Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg.
And I'm going to try not to mangle this too badly. The mayor of South Bend, Pete Buttigieg. That's close, Buttigieg, right?
Pete Buttigieg.
How do you say your name? What is the correct pronunciation of your name?
Pete. Those days may be over, and some of those exercises and pronunciation came during the last time that Buttigieg jumped into a long-shot race against far more experienced candidates to try to be the face of the Democratic Party. Do you remember that bit? It wasn't this race for president or for Congress. It was a contest to run the party itself. The top post at the DNC changed hands after Russian hackers boosting Trump had released stolen emails undercutting then DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz at the 2016 convention. She resigned. Donna Brazile became a temporary chair to get through that election, leaving a vacancy that Democrats were then debating how to fill in January 2017. The top contenders were former Obama official Tom Perez, who ultimately won, liberal Congressman Keith Ellison as well. But in that suddenly pivotal debate over who should lead the party in the wake of Trump's surprise win, another obscure candidate jumped in.
I'm Pete Buttigieg, and I'm the mayor here in South Bend, Indiana. I'm asking you to join me as I run for chair of the Democratic Party. And together, we will write a new turnaround story.
That obscure mayor saw himself as the person to take on and take over the reins of the party for the Trump era.
If the outcome of this DNC chair race is that half the party feels like it's just been sent packing, we're going to be that much further on a back foot dealing with the real opposition, which is Trump and the Republican opposition.
Why wouldn't you put in somebody who's from the millennial generation, running and winning in a bright red state like Indiana, and a mayor whose bread and butter is state and local political organizing?
Now, party chairs are usually insular affairs. Even active Democrats don't tend to follow the run-up to picking a DNC chair. 2017 was a little different. The party leadership was undermined by some of that content in those emails hacked by the Russians and then shocked by Trump's win. There was more attention on the DNC race as a proxy for how to take on Trump.
The Democratic Party needs to take the fight to Donald Trump. When we lead with our values, when we lead with our conviction, that's how we succeed.
Donald Trump has already brought the fight our way. We can actually help Democrats win all over the country so that we can get rid of Donald Trump.
Donald Trump's gotten to be like a computer virus in the American political system. He ties up our minds and our processing power with these equations that don't even have any solutions until the system overheats and breaks down.
Now, that race focused on those first two voices, an Obama establishment veteran, Tom Perez, who was battling a leader of the Progressive Caucus, Keith Ellison. Mayor Pete was vying to be a kind of coalition compromise candidate who could maybe talk to both those wings of the party and also bring other attributes as an openly gay millennial mayor with credentials from the military and Harvard, credentials playing in his current campaign. Now, that race turned completely on the 447 members of the DNC who vote. But Mayor Pete had an approach that appealed to other groups that didn't have a vote, including some in the press. Reporters dubbing him a rock star at the time who might have lacked the credibility of a serious challenger but raised his national profile by running. They note he drew press attention in key Democratic states like California. One competitor later noted Pete could go viral even though he had less actual voting support in the DNC. So how did Buttigieg actually fare in that race? We know he lost because it's Chairman Tom Perez we see on that stage introducing these debates this year with Buttigieg over at the lectern with the candidates. But how did he lose? Was it close? Did he have a wing of the party? 20%? 10? No. Buttigieg dramatically dropped out of the race the very morning of that vote.
This guy named Pete, whose last name nobody can pronounce, who is the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, was going to somehow take the DNC by storm and surprise everybody. He withdraws during his nomination speech.
He was going to be the guy.
And the party went with Perez over Ellison, 235 to 200. Politico then reported Buttigieg did the math. He didn't have the needed support, and so he didn't even stay in the race. That was Buttigieg's last big campaign. Today, many Democrats might not even remember it, but what does it reveal about him and his candidacy? Well, first, even with wide agreement, he was new and less experienced. But Mayor Pete did find some ways to break through and win over some party elites. That was part of his buzz in 2017. It's part of his fundraising now. The second thing is something that does apply to all kinds of politicians, but is pronounced here. He is ambitiously audacious. When Mayor Pete jumped in the race in 2017, he didn't have the prominence or experience traditionally required to run a party taking on a new president. By the end of the race, DNC voters still didn't think he had it, but he's the one now running for president. Just think about that and contrast it to these other Democrats in the race. Perez won and is running the party, not seeking a promotion to the White House. Ellison, a member of Congress, lost and didn't seek the White House. He went on to become Minnesota's Attorney General. Jamie Harrison, a state party chair, lost and, as mentioned, is now running for the Senate. He was on our show tonight by coincidence. Only Buttigieg lost and decided the next logical step wasn't running for state office or Senate, but running for president. No one else in that race thought their next move should be the White House, not even the 55-year-old former cabinet official who won that race. No one except Mayor Pete. Now, what are we to make of that ambition? Who gets beat at one race and instead of taking some time or running for that job again, just jumps ahead to run for a promotion for a much larger job? And is that someone you want to be president? Well, let's not answer too quickly, because that is a kind of political audacity that made its way to the White House before. All starting when a then obscure politician holding a smaller job than mayor ran for Congress and lost only to seek higher office. Barack Obama's quest for national office began with a long shot primary against an incumbent congressman, civil rights leader Bobby Rush. Obama debating his elder and facing skepticism.
I think that seniority is important, but I think vision and imagination and hard work is more important. Senator Barack, he represents a part of Inglewood. His district has always been in Inglewood. Inglewood's always been in this district. What has he done? Let's Congress know. They're running for Congress. Now they're all of a sudden they can do a better job.
That may look like a different Obama than many see today, an accomplished former president. This was a young, aspiring politician that few thought would make it to Congress, let alone the White House, doing all the local legwork and outreach that small-time polls do.
You know, that is one of the things that I like about this place. The prices are right and the portions are good. I ordered the Southern Sampler just because I couldn't make up my mind. I do have to put in a plug for their peach cobbler, which people
see if I would lay
tend
off
to gobble up pretty good.
Fact check, that cobbler does look good. Now, Obama spent those years doing normal retail politics and made a generational challenge to Congressman Rush. But it didn't move the fellow Democrats in Illinois. Rush easily beat Obama in a landslide. People concluded Obama was, quote, too minor league, overeducated, arrogant, stiff. And Obama didn't take that loss by just running for the same seat again or some other comparable office. He took that loss as a sign to think bigger and run for a more expensive and higher office, the U.S. Senate.
Everybody right now feels cynical about the political process. I think their leadership seems long on rhetoric but short on substance. Politics seems to be more of a business than a mission. There's a sense that power always trumps principle. But I truly believe there's another tradition in this country that says that we're all connected somehow.
I'm Barack Obama. I'm running for the United States Senate, and I approve this message to say, yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Those words may now echo in our minds as a path to the White House. But at the time, remember, local politicos, they were dismissive of Obama seeking a promotion after a loss, noting there was little reason to think the obscure state senator would prevail. Obama believed you could lose small before winning big, if you prove your substance to voters and offer more in your next race than mere ambition. Now, he was certainly taking a leap, trying to get a bounce out of a primary loss to go to the Senate. But Illinois voters found he had more than just political dreams. His stance against the Iraq War, in contrast to the party's nominee that year, John Kerry, suggested there were at least some things he wouldn't sacrifice for short-term ambition. He also made an experience a plus by arguing against politics as usual and partisanship. Sound familiar? Now, he was also, we should note if you want to do the analysis, he was blessed in that 2004 race. One opponent imploded on the Republican side, who was then replaced by Alan Keyes, a conservative activist who mostly lived in a different state. Now, likewise, Mayor Pete is taking a leap, telling Democrats who rejected him to run the party that he should now run the country just 2 years later. And he, to be clear, has even less congressional experience than Obama did when he ran for the White House. Both these candidates are leaning into generational change, though, as an appeal to people who are sick of the way things are running now.
The time is now to shake off our slumber and slough off our fears and make good on the debt we owe past and future generations. Today, together, we can finish the work that needs to be done and usher in a new birth of freedom on this earth.
You and I have the chance to usher in a new American spring. So with hope in our hearts and with fire in our bellies, let's get to work and let's make history. Thank you.
The point here is not that Mayor Pete's future will follow Obama's past. Nobody knows. The voters, you, will decide whether to reward or punish Pete or any other politician's ambition. But we do know that even huge ambition, taking a loss as a sign you should get a promotion, is not always seen as disqualifying by the voters. And sometimes voters embrace a call to blow up the way things are run when it's offered by new people who have literally nothing to do with the way things are run in Washington. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.